Ladies and gentlemen, we are back here for another edition of IHS in hindsight. It is, what is today? Wednesday, August 31st. And hopefully your guys' weeks have been going pretty good, pretty smooth. If they've been a little rocky or shaky, hopefully come the weekend, things will be okay, and you're over with the work week. There's no better feeling. But welcome back to the channel. I thank you all for your support, and if I could do anything to really show that, I absolutely would. But I can't thank you all enough who take the time to tune into the podcast, tune into the show. Really, this episode, I don't want to make this too long. If I can target and hit this around 15 minutes or so, I would really like to, because it's really kind of straight to the point. And so I really just kind of want to go over the Steelers' 53-man roster today, because yesterday it was all set in stone. There's been a couple moves that have been made today, and I kind of want to just talk about that. Just talk about really where everything's set, the certain positions, kind of what we can, myself and even you guys, if you want to let me know in the comment section on your thoughts on certain things, and really maybe what to expect out of certain positions. So it's really straight to the point video and everything, and that's kind of really what I want this to be, like not too long, not to linger on today. But for those who are new to the channel, again, thank you all for my new subs. I want to shout out Daniel J. of the State of the Steelers podcast. I did a great show with him that was uploaded yesterday on his channel. So if you are not following his channel, give it a follow over there. Very knowledgeable Steeler fan. Knows very well the state of the team and really kind of what his expectations are on certain things. Gives a good perspective. So give him a follow there. Check out our video too. We both did together. It was a great one. Check out his videos from the past. He was talking all Steelers, folks. So if you're a Steeler fan, he's definitely a guy to listen to lend an ear to, because he's very informative. So I think you guys would enjoy his content if you're not over there already. But for those who came from his channel to mine, sorry about the camera thing, a little lag there. For those that came from his channel over to my channel as well, I want to welcome you guys here. Thank you for the support, and again, a shout out to him as well, because I got about 10 new followers after appearing so far after appearing on his channel. So I appreciate Daniel for the support of my channel and his help for my channel as well. But again, check him out, guys, if you have not. But yeah, so really what I like to do here on the pod, as I've said before, I haven't really cut to the chase yet on the Steelers 53-man, but I kind of just want to get that out there, especially for newer listeners real quick. With football season starting back up, I'm going to be on a consistent schedule. How I did it last year. And how I did it last year was I uploaded content every Friday, Saturday, Monday, and Tuesday. And if there was something I needed to upload else during the week, I would. But what we do is Friday, we really cover on this channel everything that's going on around sports. So whether it's NBA, if it's college basketball, if it's NFL, if it's MLB, if it's certain things happen in hockey, you name it, we cover that. We cover those things really on Friday. Saturdays, as a Steeler fan myself, I like to preview the game Sunday, kind of talk about it, so we put that content up. So again, if you're a Steeler fan and you want to listen to my Steeler content, you definitely want to tune in on Saturdays. And then also Fridays too, like I said, with NFL, we kind of talk about Thursday Night Football, of course. And then Monday, we kind of talk about a recap of the Steelers game from Sunday, kind of put our thoughts and everything out there. So that's a show you want to tune into. And then Tuesday, we talk about everything that came out of the NFL over the weekend, following from Monday Night Football to everything over the weekend. So Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, that is the schedule for all you guys who are not in the know about that. That's how it will be going forward. But let's jump into it, folks. So the Steelers and the rest of the NFL had a deadline yesterday. I believe it was by 4 o'clock Eastern time of getting their 53-man roster initialized. And there were a couple moves they made, I think, that kind of caught people by the eye. But really nothing too crazy or anything like that. I really think the main thing when it came to roster cuts and them getting their roster was people wanted to see a move done for the offensive line. And they did do that. They did do that, and I will jump into that soon here. But let's go over this 53-man roster here, folks. So we got a quarterback. We obviously know the quarterback, the three quarterbacks. We know it's Mitch. We know it's Kenny. We know it's Mason Rudolph. And with Mason Rudolph, it's still kind of uncertain with him because the Steelers have been getting offers for him. They've been a little reluctant to trade him because there's a handful of teams out there that need a second quarterback, and I don't know, they from what people are saying, they like to have him as that insurance policy, but you don't need him. It's better for both sides to cut ties. It's better for the Steelers because he's not a part of your future plans, and it's better for him to get a different opportunity somewhere else. So I think there's going to trade him eventually. There's going to be a team out there in need of a second quarterback that hasn't been able to come across one that will maybe give up maybe a 5th-round pick, maybe a 6th-round pick from Mason Rudolph. And that's what you're going to get. You're not going to get anything better than that. I think a 5th-round pick, honestly, is being generous. But nonetheless, Mason Rudolph is the 3rd quarterback on the team. We will see what happens with him there. I would imagine if Rudolph gets traded, they would probably sign somebody to be a 3rd quarterback, I would imagine, or maybe stash someone on the practice squad. Going to the running backs, Najee Harris. We know Najee Harris is the lead guy. Jaylen Warren makes a team, undrafted free agent this year, wearing number 30, so obviously I think of James Conner when I see him out there, but Jaylen Warren had a pretty nice preseason. He's not really a speedy, flashy type running back like Anthony McFarland was, but he is a guy that can do some different things. I think he's got some similar traits to a Benny Snell, but he showed consistency. He showed that he can get through blocks and everything like that, which is what you want, something Benny Snell struggles to do. But Benny Snell still made this team, which, okay, I was a little surprised. I think a lot of people were caught off guard by the Anthony McFarland release. Now, it was reported today that Anthony McFarland is getting stashed back on the practice squad, so he still is on the roster, just not the 53 right now. And I kind of liked what I saw from McFarland, man. McFarland didn't get a lot of opportunity last year in this preseason. I think he showcased himself a little bit. We saw that speed, especially when he had some open field. We saw that speed, which is a little bit of a breath of fresh air from what else the running back group can do, because he's that different dynamic offset type guy, especially with his acceleration and his elusiveness that he has. But we know the speed factor is a huge thing for him, because if he's in open field, he's freaking gone. But he is getting stashed on the practice squad. Like I said, I liked what I saw more from him than some of the other backs they had in the room. I thought he might have been the number 3 guy, but he's still on the practice squad. Derek Watt obviously makes a team. To be honest, not sure why he's even on the team, because they don't use him. They don't use fullbacks. They never have used fullbacks for a very long time. Maybe it's a family service thing. I know Derek Watt does add on special teams, but hopefully it will be a change of the guard, because I don't understand. When it's 3rd and 1, wherever the Steelers are at, if they're on the goal line, why don't you get him in there? Whether you hand him off the ball to get a yard or two, he can't get a yard or two, maybe not behind this offensive line, but you're telling me he can't get a yard or two? I beg to differ. Most of the time he probably can't. Get him in there. Let him block for Najee Harris to get in the end zone. You know, come on, use somebody here. Roosevelt Nix was never used either, so why don't you use him because you're paying him? Receivers. The Steelers kept 7. And it's really going to be 6, because I would imagine they're probably going to put Calvin Austin on the short-term IR at least. Calvin Austin did not play in preseason, did not participate in training camp because of his injury. I forget what it is. But it's going to be exciting when he's out there and seeing how they use him. But we know Deontay, Claypool, Pickens, Calvin Austin, Gunnar Olszewski, who they got from New England, Miles Boykin, and Steven Sims make the cut. Miles Boykin was on the Ravens, didn't cut it there. Steelers bring him in. They like they like some of the traits he has. They like some of the things they saw of him in preseason. Steven Sims, very flashy, speedy type guy that they used in some end-around type plays and stuff like that. So it kind of gives him a little dynamic than some other guys, but very solid receiver group. Easily one of the best receiving groups in the NFL, and there should be a lot of excitement coming out of them. I'm very excited to see George Pickens, Deontay capitalize on his second year. Well, not his second year, but his second year really flourishing. like he did last year. Chase Claypool and the other boys. Tight ends, we got Pat Freiermuth, Zach Gentry, and Connor Hayward. So there's your tight end group. I don't have a problem with it. It's fine. Offensive line. Now, with the offensive line, we know the offensive line is the biggest concern. We know that it is... I've been saying it the last 2 years. It can't get worse, but it continues to show me it's getting worse, and I don't know how. The offensive line was not a pretty thing to see in preseason, man. It really was not. And it's a fault on the Steelers. It's a fault on the Steelers for not doing enough to that offensive line in the offseason. They re-signed Okorafor to a 3-year deal. It's similar to a 1-year deal because the way it's structured, they can get out of the deal. But Okorafor really hasn't been too bad in preseason. He had, I think he had a better year last year than maybe what some people think he had. So hopefully he can take a leap from last year to this year. That's really what the Steelers want to see. And then you also have Mason Cole, who I think was not too bad this preseason either. He's obviously very strong in run blocking, more so than pass blocking. But he's better than what they had with Kendrick Green at center last year. The other positions are really the red flags, the offensive line. You have James Daniels, who they gave a pretty hefty contract to, 3-year deal in the offseason, coming from Chicago, a Pro Bowl caliber potential type player, has been very disappointing. But I think he's going to... It's hard for me to see him just be a total bust, because from really what he was doing in Chicago to what he was doing there was really catching so many people's eyes that this can be a guy doing that and getting to that next level, getting that Pro Bowl-esque type level, and coming to Steelers, hopefully he can hit that level, but it's hard for me to see him just continue this play that he had in preseason. It might be a little bit of a different adjustment with coaching, things like that, I don't know, but he's got to work on some stuff that we point out in preseason. You got the left guard position, which Kendrick Green and Kevin Dotson have kind of been battling for. It seems like Kevin Dotson's probably going to win that job. Kendrick Green was very disappointing last year as a third-round pick at center. He was naturally a guard. Steelers move him back to guard this year at camp and preseason. He was just absolutely dreadful. Probably the worst out of the bunch, to be honest. And a lot of people saying he should have made the team. And I agree. He probably shouldn't have. But I think because the investment the Steelers put in him, they want to try to continue to see that investment play out, maybe, if possible, and maybe give him some more time and not start him. But if they're seeing certain things, I don't know. Time will tell. At left tackle, obviously you have Dan Moore, who had a dreadful preseason as well. He had a good stretch toward the end of last year, which I think gave the Steelers confidence in the first-year guy. Going second year, he's taken a step back. We'll see what they do. I wish... Now, they did make a move for an offensive lineman, and I'll get there in a minute. But I wish they did more in the offseason with the line, not saying, just break the bank. But the James Daniels signing got a lot of people excited. Okay, they signed Mason Cole. He's kind of that Band-Aid at center. Okay. But there were some guys out there that they really could have utilized money into at left tackle, and they didn't do that. And that's a fault on them. And it's a fault on them, too, over the last few years, not really investing in an offensive lineman early in the draft. So I'm sure that will probably change this year in the offseason. But at the end of the day, the Steelers have to keep what they have, continue to play those guys, continue to build off each other, build that chemistry, and if they got to make a move sometime in the season and maybe bring somebody else in, then you do that too. But they did make a move yesterday, bringing in Jesse Davis, who played for the Miami Dolphins last year, was with the Vikings this preseason, didn't give up too much for him. He's a guy that's played all over the line. He's not a stud offensive lineman or anything like that, but he's played all over the line. He's played a handful of games in the league. He struggled last year with Miami, but the Steelers must like certain things that they see in him. So hopefully maybe a guy like Jesse Davis can push certain players, can bring that competition. And wherever they plug and play him at, I don't know, but maybe he can be that and bring the best out of the group, right? Maybe bring some more hard work. Maybe, I don't know, Jesse Davis, from what I've heard, is a good locker room guy as well. And maybe the Steelers also like that trait too. But it's hard for me to put any expectations because I'm not too familiar with him before the trade. We got to wait and see. We got to wait and see where the Steelers want him at, and whenever he's going to eventually plug in and play on the offensive line. So If he would be a guy that could be can get his feet wet here and established here, that's great. And maybe he can, if he ends up being a guy here longer term, then that's fantastic. But we got to wait and see. Obviously, the backups as well. You got J.C. Hasnauer, Kendrick Green's going to be a backup. They might. I still could see them adding somebody else to the offensive line group, but that's where you're at right now with that. Defensive line, Cam Hayward, Larry Ogunjobi, Montravius Adams, Isaiah Loudermilk, Tyson Alualu, Chris Wormley, and DeMarvin Leal. So we know that Stephon Tuitt retired. How are the Steelers going to replace that? And the Steelers, last year, I thought they had a pretty, with Stephon Tuitt out, I thought Chris Wormley did a solid job being in there. Certain rotation of guys being in there. And Alualu was out all last year pretty much too. But with Tuitt being out, or retiring, the Steelers had to do something. So they bring in Larry Ogunjobi. Larry Ogunjobi's played for Cleveland. He's played for Cincinnati. He's been a pretty productive player for the most part. He's had a really good preseason, really good camp. He's made his impact known on that defensive line. He's a guy that can get to the quarterback as well. So I think that he will be okay offsiding Cam Hayward. You got Tyson Alualu there as well. And then you got your rotation guys. DeMarvin Leal, third-round pick, who was originally supposed to be a first-round pick, but his stock dropped. But still, he's there. Wormley, Loudermilk, Montravius Adams. There's your defensive line group. Linebackers, Devin Bush, Miles Jack, Robert Spillane, Mark Robinson. On the edge, you got TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Derek Tuska, and Malik Reed, another guy they traded for yesterday, which I think was great. I think everybody thought that it was great. He's got 12 sacks or so over the last 2 years, which is great for what that is. And from what I've heard and what many people have said that have covered Denver, that were covering this trade, that Malik Reed's a guy that's very good at getting to the passer. He's very good in his role. You're going to get production out of him. And that's what the Steelers want, because there was something Jannard Avery they didn't see. They like Derek Tuska, who had some nice plays in preseason. And you got a guy like Malik Reed, who's been pretty productive the last couple years, who's been involved in that Denver defense, who's gotten snaps, who's been on the field. And you plug and play him as well. You know, even though he's the third guy, he's still going to get snaps. He's still going to get time on that field. And maybe he might be the guy the Steelers were hoping Melvin Ingram would have been last year. But I love that move. It was a move that needed to be made as well, and they did that. Cornerbacks, we got Ahkello Witherspoon, Cam Sutton, Levi Wallace, Arthur Millette, and James Pierre. They kept 5 cornerbacks. It's usually 5 or 6 depending on what it is, but we know Witherspoon and Wallace starting on the outside, Cam Sutton in the slot, Millette and Pierre. I would love to see Joe Hayden come back, man. I would love to see Hayden come back. There was a tweet that the Steelers reached out to him. Hayden rejected it. Hayden came out saying that was false, that the Steelers got his agent's number. I would love to see him come back. And it's not saying you got to play Joe Hayden every single down, every single snap either, but that gives you that, yes, it gives you that depth, but it gives you that insurance as well. A guy like Joe Hayden, who's been here for 5 years, a guy like him who's a total pro at what he does, who's still on the market. So maybe that's something that still happens. I would like to see the Steelers upgrade this group by just a little notch over a James Pierre, over an Arthur Millette. We'll wait and see, but that's the group they have right now. And at safeties, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Terrell Edmonds, Trey Norwood, Miles Killebrew, DeMonte Kazee, who a lot of people thought was going to get moved to the IR and open up another spot, but his injury isn't as serious as what people thought, as what maybe the Steelers might have thought. He will go on the short-term IR, and he's projected to be out 4 to 6 weeks. So that's not bad at all, and he's going to be utilized very much in the secondary. And obviously, special teams, you got Boswell, Presley Harvin is the punter, and Christian Kuntz. Presley Harvin, we all know, had a bad year last year, but he had a lot of crap going on. He's a good dude. He's got a very strong leg, so hopefully he can put it together this year. So that is the official 53, and I love how I said 15 minutes, and here we are at 19 minutes. It's okay. We can go a little bit longer. I know that I was really talking a lot through that 53, but I didn't really want to sit and just linger on, put my thoughts. I really just kind of wanted to go through every guy at every position, and once that was over with, really kind of maybe break a couple things down real quick. And I think the cornerback spot is a spot where I think a lot of people would like to see somebody else come in as well to be behind those guys, and I would love to see that be a Joe Hayden. You can still implement him in certain packages and certain defense. You don't have to have him out there every snap either, but injuries happen too, and it's hard to kind of put your faith in a guy like a James Pierre and even an Arthur Millette if something would happen to one of those guys. But their cornerback room isn't as good as what it was before, like back when they had Hayden and Steven Nelson, Mike Hilton. I mean, that was fantastic. But now it's still a good bunch, a solid group. It's a group that, for how their defense is good enough, I think. And Akello Witherspoon, we know how to, whenever he really got upped in playing time last year, made the best out of that. Cam Sutton's been a total pro, 4 years, has gotten better every year. And Levi Wallace has been a pretty good, solid man-to-man, especially corner as well in Buffalo throughout his career. So I like the group. It's a solid group. It's not a great group, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm excited to see what they're going to do. We'll see if they bring anybody else in. And then also we know an inside linebacker. Aside from Miles Jack, who easily made his presence known preseason, you name it. Excited to see what he's going to do in this defense too. But Devin Bush is obviously a concern. Devin Bush was very bad last year. Devin Bush hasn't really done anything impressive over camp or preseason. I feel like he's just content and he's okay with where he's at, which is concerning. Robert Spillane is still there as well, who tackles, but other than that, there's really not much to him. Mark Robinson is a guy that stood out. He was, I believe, their 5th or 6th round pick in the draft this year, and who had a very good camp, very good preseason. He's just a hard hitter, not afraid of contact, good tackler, like a Vince Williams type-esque guy. And hey, if Mark Robinson can be anything like that, I think the Steelers would be more than pleased for that. So I would not be surprised if Mark Robinson eventually would overtake Devin Bush if Devin Bush just isn't getting the job done. We will wait and see, but you got to, just wait and see how a guy like Bush plays out. But at the end of the day, the Steelers have a very good roster. We know the line's a concern. Outside the line, they have a very good roster, a roster that is a ready-to-win-now type roster. You have a defense that is a Super Bowl caliber defense. We know they weren't very good last year in the run game. Not having Tuitt and Alu and poor inside linebacking play had a part of that. So you upgraded with Miles Jack. You get Ogunjobi. You get Alu back. You got a good rotation of depth back there. I expect it to be better. But they got a Super Bowl caliber defense. You got a very good young core of offensive weapons on your team. And we know the line's concerning, but with the quarterback play, I think we can imagine that Trubisky's going to be the guy week 1, which I said is okay if that's the direction they go. I would start Kenny Pickett, and if you want to know my reasons why, you can go back on the State of the Steelers podcast where I talk about it, but briefly why I think Pickett should be the starter is because Trubisky is not this guy where he's nothing special. Mitch is who he is. I think he's in a better situation than he was in Chicago, but he is what he is, and I think if you have a rookie quarterback, a first-round rookie quarterback, and you bring in a bridge-type guy, I think if that rookie's playing better or right on par as that bridge guy, that's who you start. You start him. That's your guy. And Kenny Pickett, from the way that he's progressed and ascended and his readiness and looking like a total pro on the field, I think that he pretty much got to the point where he is now faster than I think many people thought. So I think he's ready to play. I would start him personally. I think his time's going to come sooner or later, but I still think Mitch is a guy that can win games with his talent around him and everything like that. But we know the Steelers. Regardless of how great the Steelers are, regardless of if they're not as great as years prior, they're still a competitive team. They're always fighting. They're always in the playoffs, or not in the playoffs necessarily, but they're always in the division fighting. They're always in the playoff hunt one way or another, whether they're, like I said, one of the top teams in the AFC or whether they're kind of in the middle or something like that. They're always in there, and I still expect that this year. And I think if they get above quarterback play, I think they can definitely win double-digit games. Right now I have them around 9 or 10. I'll make a video down the road before the season starts, kind of breaking down each game and kind of how I think that's going to go. But with the talent they have, I think they can hit 10 wins for sure. I think 11 may be a maximum right now, but I think right now 9 to 10 is where I have, kind of depending how the offense is gonna go, the line, how Mitch is gonna play. But with their talent, they have too much talent to, how do I want to put this? We all know Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season, but they're a type of team where, like I said, even though I said that, yeah, they're always in the playoffs, always mixed, they have a lot of talent. And I said Mitch, I think, can win games, but how many that is, I don't know. And I think it's going to come to a point where your defense is going to do its thing. You have guys on offense, but what is Mitch doing for me, right? Is Mitch doing enough? And if it gets to that point where he's not doing enough, I expect to switch at quarterback. I think if the Steelers start a little slow, I think you're going to see a switch early. I think Mitch is going to have a really short leash, and which he should. And if you're not seeing the type of production offensively you were wanting to see out of Mitch, if the Steelers are kind of waving around 500, maybe a little under 500, you're going to see that switch early on, folks. And I think Pickett's going to play this year. It's just going to be a matter of when, because the thing is, even though I said Mitch can still keep the team afloat, I think, make some plays, keep them competitive with the talent he has, I think it's going to come to a point where Mitch just isn't doing enough offensively. It's not saying that he was playing bad or anything. He just might not be doing enough. And I think Kenny Pickett will give him that spark. And I think Kenny Pickett's ready, man. And I'm excited to see what he can do when his time comes and everything like that. But it's going to be a fun year. It's going to be different at the same time, but there's a lot of things to look forward to, a lot of things to be excited about. They're going to be right in the mix with everything. And you just got to sit back and watch and hope for the best, man. But I wanted to go over the 53, kind of go over certain positions, maybe certain expectations for guys. I'm really excited to see a guy like George Pickens and how he's going to do his rookie year, because there's been so many things about him, and we can all see the talent that's there. So I'm excited to see that. It's a big year for Chase Claypool. I think it's great they're putting him in the slot this year. I think we'll see more of him in the open middle of the field. A guy like Freiermuth ready to take a second-year jump, too, from last year. He had a pretty nice rookie year. You got Deontay Johnson, who's coming to his own. Najee, obviously. The line needs to really kind of start gelling and getting chemistry. But hopefully maybe that might be a week-by-week thing. We'll kind of see really how maybe the Jesse Davis thing does, and we'll see if they can go from how they were in preseason to maybe a little bit mesh, a little bit better as the season goes on. The defense says for itself. It's going to be one of the best defenses in the league. But I'm excited for this season. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments on your expectations this season, what you guys think about maybe certain positions that could get a little bit better, a little bit of a boost before the season starts. Let me know. Let me know your guys' thoughts on anything else steel related that we talked about. Maybe we didn't talk about. But I'm going to end it there, guys. I didn't want to go too long. I really just, like I said, wanted to break down the 53, talk about certain positions, maybe guys that could be coming up, certain additions they can make to those groups, and, just a quick little brief idea, some thoughts thrown out on certain expectations maybe to have this year. So I'm excited about the season, man, not just because it's football season, but I think there's a lot to be excited about this year if you're a Steeler fan. So we'll see how the season goes. Go Steelers, everybody. We will be back. What is today? Wednesday. We will be back on Friday. We should be back Friday for... I'm not quite sure what I'm talking about yet. I'm probably going to talk about certain things that might be going on in the NFL that are newsworthy. Stuff like that. Maybe a little bit of baseball. We'll wait and see. Kind of want to gauge everything out and see really what's worth sinking your teeth into. But if you guys don't mind, hit the subscribe, hit the thumbs up, because it helps out the channel, and I want to keep growing this channel as best as I can, week at a time, incorporate you guys in the channel. So all sport fans are welcome here, no matter what sport, no matter what team, you're all welcome here, folks. But this is just a Steelers kind of edition right here that I do also during the week, because those are my boys, that's my team. So of course I want to talk about them. But all links in the description below, guys. You want to follow me on social media, all links are down below for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to keep up with things of the channel. I will see you guys hopefully Friday. We will for sure be back this weekend, and I appreciate all you guys' support. We will see you soon.